this is Science 2925 on people and environment. All right, science perspective. All right, I'm Dr. John Truitzen, professor of physics here at Bemidji State. And so I'm going to be doing is posting a lecture of maybe 30 minutes for each of the 14 chapters for this course. And this will be very different from what was originally posted. I did have flash PowerPoint slides with audio accompanying them. However, Adobe has ceased Adobe Flash as of today. So the files no longer work, so I'm going to be deleting all those for the chapters, and instead we have the PowerPoint handouts. There is a textbook if you want that, to get that. That goes with the book, with the course. Always posted on the course syllabus. And instead I'm going to be just doing a short lecture on each of the chapters as far as the topics for there. And so that's what I'll post as a YouTube video with a link on each chapter. So that'll be the case. For each chapter, there will be one multiple choice quiz and one short answer quiz. And the short answer ones, you can do each one twice. Everything is open for 2 weeks. If you check on the syllabus schedule, all the quizzes are already, the dates for each one is already posted. These are graded automatically because they're multiple choice. The short answer ones are graded manually by me when the quiz period is over. So if you have any questions about it, so I wait till they're all done, then I grade them all by hand. And most people do very well. If you answer the question as far as what the basic concepts are, you should be fine. So I grade them manually so we don't have to deal with issues of, they have the right side, the extra thing, something wrong in there as far as that's concerned. There will also be a term paper for the course, and I'll talk about that later on as far as that's concerned. And there are also discussion postings. The first couple are up today as far as that, so check on discussions. So check the calendar. Most things will be submitted as a quiz, other than discussion postings. I'll grade those on a periodic basis. And again, I'm not looking for a whole lot on those. And then there will be a final at the end. All right? So let me move on to chapter 1 a little bit. And then if you have any questions, feel free to email me. And we'll get started here. So on chapter 1, all right, we talk about is what is an environmentally sustainable society. Sustainable means that you have enough what we call natural capital, natural resources, to last for our generation, next generation, the generations after that, assuming things have been around for a long time, and the fact that all of our energy, basically all of our energy, either from the past or now, generally comes from the sun. It's the sun of solar energy. For the most part, the sun is also, on the past, has done photosynthesis to make plants, which then became animals, which then died and became what we call fossil fuels. right? And there's other things related to that as far as it. So sustainability means that we're able to utilize energy and resources without depleting it. All right, currently what we're doing is we're heading towards a case of massive depletion at the rate we're using, whether it's fossil fuels, minerals, and other resources. So that's what we talk about there. You know, it's interdisciplinary. I mean, I focus more on science, but we also have social sciences, and we also have humanities. But we try to get into what are the politics of sustainability, whether it's science. I mean, it's not easy to say, well, you know, we have to use less oil, less coal. It came out today that Minnesota Energy is going to get rid of their last coal-fired power plants in Minnesota by 2030. So we're heading down the road of sustainability, also dealing with climate change, which is a reality, and that's the basis of the lecture part of that there. All right. So part of it is, you know, how does nature work? How the environment affects us. All right, how to deal with environmental problems. The problems we have. And again, I'm pretty much just looking at the PowerPoint handout to go through this. So this is pretty good. The book has more detail as far as that's concerned. You know, but we'll get into the idea of natural capital, natural resources, and services, and how we also get into the degradation of natural capital based on human activities. Now, I'm not saying it's bad what we are. I mean, that's just the way it is, all right? And then try to come up with scientific solutions to deal with that. We will be dealing with some other topics. We'll be dealing with a couple of videos. One is on the politics of global climate change. This is a video from 2012. We'll also get into the other controversies as far as, you know, fake news sort of type of issues and that. So the point of this is, you know, is we can become more sustainable if we come up with ways of doing things so that we're not depleting all of our resources, particularly in our own generation. I mean, we can utilize things, but we have to also realize there's things. We got solar energy, wind energy, nuclear energy, whether people like it or not. And that includes fission, which is the current one. Also fusion, we'll get into that. Nuclear fusion is what goes on in the process center of the sun to produce energy that we get. And the point of that is to be able to, you know, avoid a catastrophe by the end of the century. Some other things here, you know, we get into business. We get into the topic of, you know, what do we mean by the gross domestic product, GDP? For anybody that's taking business, this is also measured by growth, you know, per capita, GDP, but per capita can be highly skewed. I mean, we have a few people that are extremely wealthy and a lot of people are very poor. that can make it look like you have a huge per capita, but we have a huge inequity right now of income and resources. All right. And we are, the United States is what we call a developed country compared to developing countries. That could be things like India. China is probably far more than a developed country now in the past 20 or 30 years. We'll also get into what we call our ecological footprint, meaning what are we leaving on the Earth's surface? What are we leaving on the Earth as far as what we are actually doing? And what can we do to improve that? We'll be comparing renewable and non-renewable resources. Renewable can include wood, trees, solar energy, wind energy, hydroelectric. Non-renewable may be pretty much fossil fuels, including coal, oil, natural gas, and such. Technically, fossil fuels are renewable, but it takes about 100 million years for the amount we've had to be regenerated. So in that sense, it's not renewable. Renewable are ones that are constantly being replenished. Non-renewable ones, we have a finite amount, and once that's gone, it's going to take a long time for that to be replenished. We'll get into property rights a little bit. I'm not going to get into the politics of that, but how much do people own? People have property. Is everything should be just owned by people, or is there a certain amount of common good? Federal lands, federal resources, and looking at those type of things. We get into recycling and reusing. Talk about the pros and cons of recycling. I will be posting a couple of articles throughout the semester. Have you read and do a discussion, post a top discussion posts and respond to somebody else's throughout the semester. We'll get a little bit into water pollution. Again, I'm a physical scientist, not an ecologist or biologist. So we'll be more on a general basis of this. Some of you may know more about this than I do, as far as water pollution and such. We'll get into that. There's a video, and we'll be talking about later about Rachel Carson's Silent Spring in the 1960s. How we had such huge environmental problems, water pollution and such, that we now have made great improvement on, even though it may not seem that way at times. We'll get into talking about mining. We have the new mining permit that is going to do minerals, advanced minerals near the Banju waters, the controversy of that. What effect can that have on the environment up there versus the jobs it can provide for that area? So it's a balance of that. Also get into junk we put out. We make a lot of trash, particularly including plastics, and trying to deal with those things. Plastics are not biodegradable. What do you mean by biodegradable? Biodegradable means that it will degrade back to harmless material over a relatively short period of time, and such. Right? And then pollution, we talk about pollution cleanup, which is output pollution control. So we've already polluted in the first place, so I'm trying to clean it up. while the best thing is to do pollution prevention, which is to prevent stuff in the first place. And we'll get into cultural changes. What have we done the last thousands of years that people have had real advances? Talk about the Industrial Revolution to some extent. And talk about why do we have environmental problems. 5 basic causes of environmental problems. We'll get into that. When we talk about environmental problems, we have population growth. We have wasteful use of resources. We have poverty, which, and failure to include environmental costs. In a product, all right? Now, the energy needed, when we use it, what happens when we throw it away? What does that mean? Who should pay for that? And then also insufficient knowledge of how we work. So that's pretty much chapter 1, I should say. As far as the basics of that, the PowerPoint handout will be very good as far as doing the questions. As far as anything else, okay. So that's chapter 1. The quizzes are now open. And will be open for 2 weeks. Okay, so that's chapter 1. I'll get into more detail as we go on in the semester, but this will be posted as a YouTube video